I was handed an apron at my own son's wedding. Not by accident. Not with embarrassment. With intention. Kitchen's short-staffed, Sterling Thorne said, pressing the stiff white fabric into my chest as if I were furniture. If you're going to loiter, at least make yourself useful. Laughter rippled around him. Soft, polished, expensive. Crystal glasses chimed. Someone snapped a photo. I stood there in the ballroom of the Fairmont Grand in San Francisco, beneath cascading orchids and a chandelier worth more than most homes, and felt something cold settle in my spine. Sterling Thorne was about to become my son's father-in-law. And he thought I was staff. "Excuse me," I said calmly. "I'm the groom's." Yes, he cut me off, waving a dismissive hand. "Everyone's something today. Apron." Now, my son Daniel was across the room laughing with his groomsmen, oblivious. My future daughter-in-law, Brooke Thorne, stood beside him glowing in white silk, her back turned to me. I could have corrected Sterling in that moment. I could have said, "I am Judge Olivia Chen. I preside over federal corruption cases. I sentence men like you." Instead, I tied the apron. Because something in Sterling's eyes wasn't just arrogance. It was certainty. The kind men have when they believe consequences are for other people. I spent the next 40 minutes carrying champagne flutes and weaving between senators' wives, venture capitalists, and senior partners from firms I recognized very well. No one looked at my face. They looked through me. Invisibility is a peculiar kind of power. Near the bar, I heard Sterling's voice again. Lower now, conspiratorial. He was speaking to a man in a charcoal suit with a pin I recognized instantly. California Bar Association. "You're sure the evidence chain won't be questioned?" Sterling asked. The man chuckled. "Relax. The intern already took the fall. Kid didn't even know what hit him." My hand tightened around the tray. "What about the documents?" Sterling pressed. "The subpoena?" "Misfiled," the lawyer said smoothly. "By the time anyone notices, statutes run." Sterling laughed. "That's why I pay you." They clinked glasses. I kept walking, heart pounding, not with fear, but with something sharper. Focus. I had heard enough over the years to recognize the outline of a crime, even when details were still blurred. Later, in the service corridor near the kitchen, I nearly collided with a young woman in a black caterer's uniform. She looked barely 20, eyes red, jaw clenched like she was holding herself together by force. "I'm sorry," she murmured automatically. "You're fine," I said. "Are you okay?" She hesitated, then shook her head. "They fired my brother today." "Well, blacklisted him." "For what?" "For doing the right thing." Her voice cracked. "He reported tampered files at Thorne and Associates. They said he was careless. Now no firm will touch him." "Thorne and Associates." "Sterling's firm." "What's your brother's name?" I asked. "Evan Morales," she said. "He was supposed to start a federal internship next month. Dream opportunity. They pulled it this morning, gave it to someone else." I already knew the answer, but I asked anyway. "Who?" She swallowed. "Brooke Thorne. My future daughter-in-law." I stood there, the hum of the wedding muffled behind us, and felt the pieces click into place with brutal clarity. Evidence tampering. A scapegoated intern. A stolen internship. All orbiting Sterling Thorne like debris around a dying star. And my son was marrying into it. I returned to the ballroom just as Sterling snapped his fingers at me. "Server," he barked. "You missed a spot." He gestured to a barely visible smudge on the marble near the head table. I looked at him, really looked this time. The confidence. The entitlement. The certainty that no one here could touch him. "Yes, sir," I said quietly. As I knelt to wipe the floor, I caught Daniel's eye across the room. He frowned, confused, recognition flickering. But Brooke leaned in to whisper something, and he looked away. Good, I thought. Let him have one more hour of peace. Because the wedding was almost over. And Sterling Thorne had just confessed to felonies within earshot of a federal judge who had nothing left to lose, and everything to reveal. I stood, smoothed the apron, and made my decision. I would remain invisible. For now. I waited until the cake was cut. That felt important. Letting the ritual finish, letting the illusion complete itself before it shattered. From behind the service bar, I watched my son smile for photographs. Watched Brooke accept congratulations like a coronation. Watched Sterling Thorne bask in the reflected glory of a room that believed he was untouchable. He moved through the guests with the ease of a man who had never been told no, his laugh too loud, his hand always resting possessively on someone else's shoulder. I listened. Invisible people hear everything. Near the dessert table, Sterling leaned close to a city councilman, his voice oily with confidence. Once my daughter's sworn in, we'll have friends in very useful places. Judges talk. You know how it is. I did know how it was. And I knew exactly which judge he thought he was speaking to. In the kitchen corridor, I found the young caterer again, the sister. Her name was Sophia. She was packing trays with shaking hands. Sophia, I said gently, if I asked you to tell the truth in public, would you? Her eyes widened. About my brother? Yes. She hesitated. Fear flickered across her face, the kind born from watching powerful people destroy smaller ones without effort. They'll ruin him completely. They already tried, I said. What they took can be restored. What they did can't be undone, but it can be answered. She searched my face. Who are you? I untied the apron. Someone who believes your brother deserves justice. I didn't reveal my name yet. I didn't need to. Not then. The band finished their set. The MC tapped the microphone, announcing speeches. Sterling rose first, straightening his tuxedo like a general preparing for applause. My daughter, he began, voice booming, has always understood the value of excellence earned, not given. I stepped forward before he could continue. The microphone squealed as I took it from the stand. Gasps rippled through the room. Confusion. Annoyance. Sterling stared at me, furious. What the hell are you doing? Get back to the kitchen. I smiled, not kindly. Good evening, I said, my voice steady, carrying easily through the ballroom. My name is Olivia Chen. A pause. Then recognition spread like electricity. Phones lowered. Whispers erupted. Someone dropped a glass. I am a United States District Judge, I continued. And I've spent the last 2 hours serving drinks at this wedding. Daniel stood abruptly. Mom. I met his eyes for the first time that night. There was hurt there. Confusion. But also trust. I held on to that. I chose to remain unnoticed, I said, because people tell the truth when they believe no one important is listening. Sterling's face drained of color. This is highly inappropriate, he snapped. You can't. Oh, I can, I said. And I will. I gestured toward Sophia, who stood frozen at the edge of the room. This young woman's brother, Evan Morales, was an intern at your firm. He reported evidence tampering connected to an active investigation. Instead of addressing the misconduct, you framed him for it. Sterling laughed sharply. That's absurd. I nodded toward the bar. You admitted tonight that documents were misfiled to run out a statute of limitations. You admitted an intern took the fall. Multiple witnesses heard you. I turned to the room, including a member of the California Bar Association. All eyes snapped to the man in the charcoal suit. He didn't move. Additionally, I continued, the federal internship promised to Mr. Morales was revoked this morning and reassigned to Brooke Thorne, despite her not meeting the selection criteria. Brooke's smile collapsed. Dad. Sterling took a step toward me. This is a family matter. No, I said quietly. This is corruption. I reached into my pocket and placed a flash drive on the podium. Everything discussed tonight has been documented. Statements. Times. Witnesses. Including this wedding's audio security feed. The silence was deafening. I am formally referring Sterling Thorne and associated parties to the Department of Justice and the State Bar for investigation into evidence tampering, retaliation against a whistleblower, and abuse of professional authority. Sterling's voice broke. You can't do this. I looked at him the way I had looked at hundreds of defendants before sentencing. I already have. Security moved in, not for me, but for him. The hotel's legal counsel had gone pale. Phones were already recording again. But this time no one was laughing. Daniel walked toward me slowly. Is it true? I nodded. I didn't want this to be your wedding memory. He exhaled, something hard settling in his expression. He turned to Brooke. Did you know? She didn't answer. That was answer enough. By morning, Sterling Thorne's name was everywhere. By week's end, his law license was suspended pending disbarment. Charges followed. Quietly, efficiently, ruthlessly. Evan Morales received a call 2 days later, his internship reinstated, with apologies and protections in place. I made sure of it personally. The wedding never made it past the cake on the news cycle. But justice did. Weeks later, I sat in my chambers, sunlight spilling across the bench, and thought about the apron folded neatly in my desk drawer. A reminder. Power doesn't announce itself. It listens. And when it finally speaks, it doesn't need to shout. I looked at the docket for the day and smiled faintly. Court was in session.